Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel. Give this video a like. We appreciate both of those things very much.
Check out our podcast also below in the description.
A lot to talk about after the Niners got blown out by the Dolphins. Jimmy
Wait,
Garoppolo.
repeat that?
The 49ers got blown out by the Miami Dolphins. And Jim Tomsula is not the head coach. Chip Kelly's not the head coach. The 49ers won the Super Bowl last year. It's no Mike Nolan team, John. It's one thing to get blown out like that. It's another thing to look at the screen when you're seeing the Miami Dolphins running around in those aquamarine uniforms, which I like, but
Yeah, they actually look pretty good.
Fitzmagic is just taking everything that's yours and burning down the village on his way out of town.
Oh, my God. Sweet beard, sweet beard.
Who had Jimmy Garoppolo getting benched at halftime in the pregame pool? Nobody?
Yeah, I'd say nobody. It'd be one thing if he couldn't finish. And I know Kyle said after the game that, and he made sure to say till whoever was the sideline reporter, he didn't do it for play. He did it because he thought he couldn't move. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to call bullshit on that. The ball was coming out of his hands. It looked like, you know, when you play like pickup football in high school and everyone wants to be the all-time quarterback or play quarterback. There's really like one kid in a group
Brian
of 20
Hawkins.
that play quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah, let him sling the pill. We all have that guy that's like, yeah, no one else deserves to play quarterback. His ball guy was coming out funny. He wasn't even close. He threw multiple picks that were atrocious. My take it going into half was like, he's going to get yanked. And not because like, you know, it's not normal to yank a starting quarterback that's on a big contract early in the season, right? They were 2-2. To me, though, was the eye test. He hadn't been playing. I viewed it simply as this guy's recent history. I viewed the coach in a vacuum. I went, last week, he fucking yanked Mullins. This guy is someone that views it's his offense, it's his baby. Clearly, Jimmy Garoppolo, to him, he does not view him, I mean, no one does, but I'm just talking to Kyle specifically, as some superstar. Right? And he's not, but he doesn't view him as Aaron Rodgers, Russell, like those guys get treated differently. And then he didn't draft him number 1 overall. So the number one thing Jimmy has to like confirm his starting ability really is his paycheck, because his play so far this year, in a small period of time, right? He only played the first game, then he got hurt halfway through the second game, and now he's back. It was atrocious. Like I viewed it like a starting pitcher. Verlander, Scherzer, fucking Nolan Ryan, you name it, in the history of the sport, has had games where they give up like 6 in the first inning. What happened? They get yanked. And it was just like, I just got to yank this guy. He can say he couldn't move right. Again,
I think he said protect him, right? Because he was getting hit. He'd been sacked.
Well, the O-line was protecting nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. Did you not think the ball was like coming out funny?
Yeah, it definitely was. And I saw Barnwell tweeted something like that he had said before the game. I don't know if he wrote it or he said it somewhere, that quarterbacks coming off high ankle sprains tend to miss high, whatever. I thought, you know, the problem
I'm not saying he's like a fully healthy player. I'm just saying
I know.
it was just off.
Now look, we were texting. I would have stayed with him as bad as he looked, because my feeling at halftime was, and I'm not saying this mattered in the end of the game. I'm not saying this at all. And I think everything you said about Kyle is accurate. Like, he doesn't look at Jimmy, A, like this is the untouchable franchise, and B, even if he did, he still might have done it. Like, he might have done it anyway, right? Difference in baseball is you get 162, just rest up, kid, we'll get him in a week. Like,
and it's normal to get yanked in bad starts.
Football,
football, starting
when you're
quarterback,
playing the Dolphins, you're a 2-win team 5 weeks into the season, and you've got a bunch of big games coming up. I could understand if he thought physically Jimmy didn't look right and that was leading to, but his 2 awful picks came at the end of the half when he's trying to get him down the field. I kind of felt like, do the Super Bowl thing, just pack it in right here. But it looked so bad as he tried to make plays. My opinion at halftime was, he looks terrible. The only chance you have to get back in this game is if somehow he finds it, because C.J. Beathard's not going to give you. You're not going to come back and win this game with C.J. Beathard. Now, again, I don't think it mattered, but that's why I would have stayed with him.
I only thought that he might bench him simply because of what CJ looked like at the end of last game. And I think big picture, regardless what happened, this in a vacuum, Jimmy was god-awful. You forwarded me a tweet. it has to be the first time in NFL history that Miami Dolphins kicked 3 field goals under 2 minutes in that first half.
Was that Eric Edholm that tweeted that?
Yeah,
I think?
that's not only never happened before, that'll never happen again. Like that's insane. That's an incredible stat. I also think just big picture, the first I saw Coward immediately fires off a tweet. Jimmy better call his real estate agent, and it's been a big picture topic. You and I have supported him. Then this year it started getting a little weird. But then Mullins was so terrible. I don't think it's disputable no matter what. Kyle's going to hammer home. It's his ankle, the high ankle injuries, you miss high, whatever. I think we have to be open to they have a quarterback problem now. Do they not? Like they have a quarterback problem.
Most definitely. And they might be at this point. If I told you right now, 8-8, the Niners will finish 8-8. Will you take that or would you roll the dice at 2-3 heading into the schedule they got coming up? Because I would take it. I would say.
Well, I mean, I'd rather if I was going to be 8-8, then I'd rather be like 5-11, get a better pick.
I'm just saying I understand. I'm just saying
if you were saying, do you think they're going to be 8-8? I would say probably not.
Right. So they might be a 7-win team. They might at this point. Is he playing? I don't think we can assume he's playing next week. If it's really about his physical well-being, I don't know. Are the Wednesday? Have we hit the trade deadline yet? Can you get Kirk Cousins before the trade deadline? Did that pass already?
They just gave him a huge signing bonus. Doesn't make any sense for Minnesota to trade him.
So I'm kidding, but I think at this point everything's on the table with him. Going back to the end of last year where we thought people were being too hard, but they didn't change the fact that you're in the Super Bowl and you sat on the football at the end of the first half. And I understood why. In fact, I almost tweeted today, like, can we at least acknowledge Kyle did the right thing at the end of the first half of the Super Bowl?
Well, I don't think Jimmy's little Super Bowl run, the 3 playoff games, were as bad as people make it out to be. What we've seen this year is way worse.
My point is just Kyle wasn't part of that debate. Kyle didn't need anybody to tell him Jimmy was good enough or Jimmy wasn't. There were times where he just clearly didn't believe I can just put the ball in his hands and let him go win. And that whole debate doesn't matter to Kyle. Yeah, they have an issue. Because it's not like Jimmy today played the Dolphins and was off and physically and it threw a bad pick and they lost by 7. Now part of this was about their defense, and we'll get to all that. But they were non-competitive today in the game where everyone was Jimmy's back finally. Thank God. This should be the difference. And
I think, Guy, anything you get benched and you're not like noticeably limping or something, it's just you kind of I don't think it's really disputable he got benched for his play. Because if he had just been solid and they were getting their ass kicked, he wouldn't have got benched. It was his play.
Well, if he
was so atrocious.
If he was 7-17 and they were down 14-10, would he have gotten benched?
No chance. None. He was throwing picks that I'd say the one pick where he overthrew was the worst pick he's thrown as a 49er. Like it was just.
We do have some epic back-to-back weak picks.
Even his incompletions, it was just that's the worst half of football. One, the Niners have probably played under Kyle, definitely since it's mattered. But just that Jimmy Garoppolo's played for the Niners, I don't even think it's close. Like, the eye test was.
Yeah.
That is, you and I and everyone listening, we've all watched a lot of football, right? And the thing about football, unlike the other sports, you watch a lot of other teams play. So you know what the good teams look like, you know what the shitty teams look like. Just because television ratings are huge, we all consume a lot of football. That looked like the worst quarterback play you'll see on a given week, right? Or like half a year. Like just the eye test. It doesn't look much worse. Like even the worst Joe Flacco game or the worst like Andy Dalton game, or just think about all the shitties. Like that was the shitties right there. That was the poops. That was as low as you get. That was everyone texting their friends like, am I really witnessing this right now? And that's where I thought immediately, like, I think he's going to bench him. And everyone's like, you're crazy. I'm like, I
didn't think you were crazy. I wouldn't have done it. And I think part of the reason it looked that bad is because they were trying to make up all this ground at the end of the first half, and it cost them. Now, I understand why they did it. There weren't that many possessions going to be left in the game.
3 and out to start the game. 3 and out to start the game, which I missed because I didn't even know the
game
was kicking off at 5.
I was down at Elias's.
But the moment you came in, right, beside the picks, he was way off on his passes. He was throwing to covered guys. He just looked I mean, just pitiful. I mean, that's the way I describe it, pitiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
pitiful. Look, big picture, we could debate whether or not he should have been benched at halftime. Neither one of us is saying it would have changed. I'm not saying if he didn't play.
You know?
No, but I'm not saying if he had played the second half, they were going to come back. But I do think if he's not their quarterback next year, one thing that does, if they're searching for a guy again, right, one thing that will come back up, and I don't think it's over and done with, we know that, but it's not dead. The decision to not really pursue a quarterback in the 2017 draft when they had the second pick, and Mahomes was sitting there, and Deshaun's sitting there, and obviously Trubisky's there, and they trade back. That's not nothing. Like, I don't think that gets buried, over and done with. It never comes up again. Because if he's not their quarterback and they spend another year or 2 or 4 looking for a guy, then that's going to be a big part of this era of 49ers football, especially if it keeps them from getting to where we think they could or should be. And I understand, like, the circumstances were different, right? Kyle thought, hey, I know Kirk Cousins is going to be available. I like that guy. We're not really that interested. We'll do something else, banking on having time to rebuild, and we'll get Kirk. And then they never got to Kirk because later that year, Bill threw Jimmy in their lap. But the fact is, at that moment in time, they were sitting there at 2. And if you watched Patrick Mahomes and thought of Mahomes, what Brett Veach thought of Mahomes, what your boy Andy thought of Mahomes, then you wouldn't have said, that's cool, we'll wait for Kirk. I know what Mahomes is going to be, but we'll wait for Kirk. I think Mahomes can be special, but we'll wait for Kirk. If they believe that,
or even the Texans had been making the playoffs with terrible quarterbacks, and they got aggressive. Remember, they traded up.
So I don't think, like, if Jimmy doesn't come back and pull some miracle this year and then solidify his place as the 49ers quarterback, and they're doing this thing where they're looking for their guy, that thing doesn't die. Now, what does it matter at this point? Maybe nothing. But that's part of this whole story, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they got a big problem on their hands right now. Because anytime that you have quarterback questions, you have the biggest problem you can have as a football team, right? The coach isn't going anywhere. He just got huge money, and he shouldn't. I mean, I'm not judging Kyle off one game. And it was just, we'll get into, I mean, it was the worst game I can remember he's coached in a long time. But when your quarterback is an issue, just go around the league and like the Jaguars' number one issue is they just never find a quarterback. You start working around, like the Giants. What's their problem been? Eli was shot. Now Daniel Jones, they're still up in the air. The fucking Jets, they make this trade for Darnold. They don't even know if he's the guy. Like that's the number one question. Say what you want about the Vikings. Like, they've been rattling off playoff appearances with Kirk. Now, I guess maybe not. If he's been there, this is his 3rd year, and this was his 4th. I don't know. But not
18 would have been his first year there. 18, 19. So
yeah, I don't think Cousins. So they're not going to make the playoffs this year, more than likely, right? So he's going to make the playoffs.
Feels like he's had more success than maybe on paper it says, doesn't it?
It does. So I think you and I both agreed. Like, I don't think he was the answer. Like, I didn't want him. Like, I think you'd be in the similar situation as Jimmy, kind of get you in the middle ground. And that's where, back to what you said, does Kyle look at these quarterbacks and know part of an NFL team? It's like you need a little pizzazz at that position, and I think he resorts back to like kind of a robot type guy.
He just does what I tell him. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if Kyle, you could be the greatest coach ever. When your fucking offensive lineman's missing guys, you need a little. We'll get into Mahomes a little later. He pulls shit out of his ass. Deshaun does too. Most quarterbacks, Rodgers, Russell, all these good
Josh
quarterbacks.
Allen.
I'm watching Wentz today making things that, like, you need there is some outside of the context of what does our boy Yogi Ross say, outside the X's and O's? There's truth to that. Like, and that's my buddies in the NFC North. Cousins' biggest issue is if the play's perfect, he can dice you. And he has, right? His numbers when their offense is rolling, he does look really good. What happens, though, when he has to scramble and throw, it's disaster. But I think the pushback to what most coaches would tell you, and just anyone listening knows this, what is most of the NFL, or probably like half of it, kind of plays outside of, like, it's not just like Julio Jones, wide open, easy. What Doug Peterson say? There's not layup throws in the NFL. And my pushback is there is on certain plays, but most of the NFL is like, God, you're getting hit. I'll give Ryan Fitzpatrick credit today. He's getting hit. He's making throws. Like, he was kind of a fucking playmaker, guy.
Yeah, the irony is, as good as they were on offense, and obviously good enough on defense, if they don't look like a one-win team on defense in terms of discipline, they committed so many penalties, the Niners wouldn't have had 17 points, right?
What do you mean?
They had 2 third-down penalties on the Niners' C.J. Beathard scoring drive in the second half.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the Niners, it's 43-17. It really felt like 43-6.
I honestly, guy, it felt like 60-2. That's what just if you just said like, what was the Niners score? If you asked me on like Tuesday, I'd be like,
if there had never been a score,
57-6.
There'd been no score bug on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, what would you have guessed? Like 48-6,
54-3.
I like using a baseball number. Yeah, like 48-1,
5.
You know? You just, yeah, I mean, because it didn't feel like 7. Like I guess the youth check touchdown was kind of cool, but that was about it.
Yeah, back when it looked like they had a shot. Do you think if they'd beat the Eagles, Jimmy starts this game?
I mean, I saw some of those highlights in practice. He was jumping around. I
didn't have his knee brace on.
What I think people struggle with is there's only in the NBA and in baseball, it's easy to like push it a little bit because you have so many shots, so many bites at the apple. In football, you know, even in the NFL where it's more than college, you only get so many of these games. Like the whole point of the sport, the entire point of free agency, the draft, OTAs, training camp is for fucking 15 or 16 swings, right? Herm Edwards, he always does a great job when he talks about this. You do all this work for all this time. Like you lift, Bill Parcells, you lift all them weights. Like what's for fucking games. And really most teams every year, I guess 2 more now do make the playoffs. Most teams don't even make the playoffs. You're getting 16. That's it. You know, that's why I never, and haven't been on the side or inside. I get it where you just, it's all, the game is the only thing that matters.
You get what?
Be like, give Kawhi 2 weeks off. Who cares?
Oh, you're saying you get Jimmy playing.
Yeah, I just think
so do I. I do too. But one thing is clear watching him is they cannot afford to be in these games. I think we can say this definitively now for the season. If he's 100% healthy next week, they cannot afford to be in games where they're playing catch up. They cannot, because they don't. As talented as they are, they're not making plays down the field.
You know what's simple? We'll get into the big defense here in a minute. Their offense is not very good right now. It's just CJ, Mullins, Jimmy. Their offense is bad, and it's not like I don't blame like Kittle or Debo or Ayuk. I think all those guys, Mozart. I think those guys are good. I think their problem right now is their offensive line is atrocious, and their quarterback play. I think, is it fair to say these last 2 games their quarterback play is like bottom 5 NFL? I mean, Mullins.
Yeah,
was the worst.
I mean the last 2 games. I don't know how it gets worse than that.
Yeah, it was
what
awful.
we've seen.
We have to look around the league, but it was awful.
I don't know. Do we?
Like 6, like 3. Yeah, bad. We just say the last in the league.
You didn't say the worst. You said bottom 5. I've seen 2 of the worst interceptions in the last 2 weeks than I've seen all year. So.
But then I started thinking about it. Like some of these teams miss games because of Corona. I think it's the worst quarterback play in the league last 2 games.